that the recorders are ready to record. I'll wait till I get confirmation to start talking. Okay. All right. It seems that Nova has started recording. So, welcome to Go Behind the Curtain, or its full name, Levin is a character whose entire existence is spoiler tagged by default. Go Behind the Curtain Boy. A panel by me, Daeril. A quick note before we start. If you have a question or comment that you really, really want me to see, put it in panel questions. I will be having panel chat open while this is going on, but there's a really, really high likelihood that I will miss your comment if you're saying anything important. And there's going to be a discussion at the end. This is how this is going, so just keep that in mind. Got that? All right. So, who am I and why in the world am I relevant to this conversation? My name is Daeril. I am a fictive of Bleep from Bleep, which I didn't know if you hear that, but those were really inconveniently timed bleeps. Wow, I wonder why. I am a walking spoiler for my own video game, to the point where I can't even actually say my own name without it actually counting as a spoiler. Because fun fact, anytime anyone ever says my name in any sort of Tumblr tag or post, they have to tag it as spoilers. That's awesome. Despite this, I am a person, a living, breathing person that happens to exist. And, people like being able to talk about themselves and not gate off like basic information at every turn and wonder, wow, can I say this thing? Or is that crossing a line? You may be wondering, what's some examples of this phenomena? Well, here's just all I put together in an afternoon of stuff that, came up recently or frequently happens. Like my beautiful sons that I can't even say their full names, and I just call them NS and NQS. I actually have NQS on my lap right now. He's very nice. And as much as I actually talk about being dead, it's also a question. Is that too much? Who knows? As I mentioned, I can't say my name. I can't talk about the thing that I miss, my bleep that I fucking miss. I'm fucking terrified of any body of water, to the point where I don't really like going around pools, and I really fucking hate the ocean, but I can't say why or any context beyond that. I can't even show drawings that I draw of myself. That is me. That I have to use the fucking Sona, and I not recently, but like a year or two ago, I got this really, really cool piece of clothing that looks really, really similar to something that I wore for like basically free, and I can't show it off. And there's more. And you may be saying, wow, Daeril, that's a lot. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a lot, and it's really annoying. And I've spent like 3 years, close to 3 years, just generally trying to be okay with myself and like actually like being me. And now I can't fucking talk about myself. That's great. So, how do I deal with that? And that's the fucking kicker, isn't it? Generally, what I try to do is see if I can talk around the topics, see how close I can get to the line that I decide before I cross it. And you have to decide where that line is beforehand. And I also have my partners and my friends that have seen my cool game. And so I can actually talk to them about it and get more in depth without, having to walk around everything. Yes, it is a cool game. But that doesn't really help everyone, does it? I mean, I still want to be able to talk to other people that aren't like my little circle. And so here's the two schools of thought that I've seen from others. You have option one, be extremely nonchalant. Generally, these are just people that are like, well, myself being me is more important than preserving some kind of quote unquote unspoiledness for the people around me. So I'm going to talk about myself and I'm not going to care what that spoils or who I spoil. I've noticed this happens a lot in fiction folk of more larger or well known media. For example, Gravity Falls. I don't think I need to elaborate on that one. Uh, we actually have an example of this in our own system with the little drawing at the bottom, because he really does not care. And then there's the second school of thought, the one that I actually belong in and have been describing recently. Uh, and it's generally really isolating. And it really makes it hard to talk about yourself to anyone. Like, especially at OtherCon, where it's all about talking about yourself and your own identity and things that are important and who makes you. I kind of feel like I have to sit on the sidelines of a lot of conversations and go, wow, that would be really cool if I could talk about that. And I've also noticed this happen a lot more in fiction folk of either smaller or more mystery oriented media. I've seen someone mention a few, but it's kind of getting buried. But yeah, similar sort of deal, mystery game. Uh, and now we've hit 12 minutes is actually a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be to get through my section. I want to hear from everyone else. I mainly want this to be a discussion. How have you dealt with this? Let's talk about everyone's experiences and any questions you have. This is the panel. We're in a discussion circle now. So I will be checking the panel questions chat a lot more, and the panel discussions, panel actual chat room, so we can actually all have a discussion. Because I want to find some sort of ground that isn't just let's avoid talking or let's just go willy-nilly. Is there any sort of middle ground that we can find? No, don't spoil my entire game live on panel. Yeah. Okay, let me go over to panel questions. See if there's anyone talking in here. Okay, a reminder to everyone. This is being recorded. Anything you put into the questions chat that I read out will be put on recording. So, again, making everyone aware. Okay, I'll give a second to have questions put in fully, and I will be looking at the chat for a second. Yeah, the hold on, I lost the yeah. Quote from Sifrin in chat. This is relevant to me, technically. So much of my existence is spoilers and such. Yeah. I would imagine, because it's really hard to talk about like your own important life events without it, actually spoiling your own. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no! Whenever someone plays My Source Blind, it's a terrifying experience of not having to say anything. Uh, Actually, let me look back at actual questions now. Quote from Pandian.aves. I'm Lucas from Mother 3, and talking about my media brother is a massive spoiler. There's something huge that happens at the start of the game as well, so I can't really talk about either thing, and a reveal at the end. Yeah, even if it's like really early in, a lot of people will act like it's a spoiler. You can't even talk about it. You fucking meet me at the start of the game. I'm right fucking there, and I can't talk about that. Uh, Quote from Karma. Honestly, X don't think it's worth avoiding spoilers too much to the point of entirely forcing your. Oh, honestly, I don't think it's worth avoiding spoilers too much to the point of entirely forcing yourself from existence publicly. I also agree with this. That's why I try to see how close to my own line I can get without fully just uh, going away from existence entirely. I make plenty of jokes about the fact that I'm dead. Uh, Quote from Baggy? That guy? Baggy, I think. Not something we personally experienced, but we've seen people crash out when TADC fiction folk talk about their spoiler experiences. I forgot to mention that on the slides, I think. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who have been in the more nonchalant category just kind of not exactly be harassed, but really looked down upon for doing such. Fun example, there was this one blog I found of another fictive of myself that talked about how much they were like essentially pressured by other people to simply just not say anything ever and fucking spoiler tag their own personal posts about themselves, just talking about themselves and not particularly the game. And it's really, really weird. That person is way, way more bold than I am for nowadays using our own name. But like, I respect it. But it's really ridiculous. Looking back at chat for a second. Yeah. Yeah. I also can't talk about my own like source issues or trauma with other people and get like little supportive from each other because that's spoilers. I can't talk about spoilers. It's just really annoying. Next quote from Nisha. I feel very strongly that if someone is going to be in a fictionkin space who really desperately cares about not hearing spoilers, that is a them problem, and it is only their responsibility to curate their experience. They can block people if they want, and if they don't want to do that, they can just deal with it. That's also true, and is possibly a really good way of dealing with that. If you're in a fictionkin space, you're going to see people talk about being fictionkin. That's just kind of the way it goes. This doesn't really work as much for talking to people outside of these spaces, but yeah, I see your point. It's a good point, but it also like depends on how each person feels about how quote unquote much spoilers cares to them. Uh, Next by Nana slash Evelyn. One of my heart types is a giant walking spoiler for one shot, and it's near impossible to talk about at all times. Yep, yep, I think I know what you might be talking about. Yeah. Yeah, that would be absolutely horrible to try and talk about. Because it's not really something you can even show off or really mention by name, I would assume. Which, again, really sucks. Also, back to chat for a second. I do agree. Not everyone needs to know every single detail about your life, and that does help. But I'm more talking about in the space of like really basic facts about yourself. if that makes any sense. Yeah, yeah. Also, spoilers are not the end of the world, but again, different spaces take things with a different amount of seriosity. I am personally someone who wouldn't, just for the sake of I know what the fandom is like, and as much as I don't really care what the fandom thinks, I don't want to deal with those people. Ah. Also, yeah. Next question or comment by Arcade. I'm not a spoiler by existing per se, but several things that are extremely important in my life are spoilers, and I used to talk around in a giant loop until I realized that one, people didn't care, and two, 99 of the people who happen to be ultra human do not want to play my game. And I find that extremely annoying because, well, I want people to play my game. And it also hurts to be told, yeah, you can say that because I profoundly do not care about your story, and I'm not even willing to directly tell you that. Arcade Gannon from Fallout New Vegas, if that matters to say. Yep. Yeah, that also really sucks because I also really care about people playing my own game. Uh, and, that also kind of sucks to hear. Yeah. Sorry, I need a drink of water. Uh, I don't particularly have any advice or such about having people care about your actual story more, but I do like empathize with it, if that makes sense. Okay, back to chat for a second. Yeah, glad we're all in agreement that just play my game is a very common sentiment that uh, we're all experiencing. Because I know a lot of us just want us to have other people that know us, if that makes any sense. The like want to have people play your game just so you can have someone that understands you more, uh, outside of a context of you just talking about yourself. See if there's anything else I missed. Also, yeah, comment from Sancho. Had someone Google my source and then get spoiled for the character that is in of itself a twist. It's not really your fault. It's kind of on the other person. But yeah, I also get it. This is why I go by an alias. I don't want people to look up my own name and get spoiled for a game. Uh, Also, yeah, Swiftpaw, I agree. A lot more Alter Humans would resonate with Ghost Trick if they actually played the game. That's my go play Ghost Trick of the hour. Uh, Back to panel questions. Note from Ragatha. I feel similarly. I personally try to be vague about details about episode 9 or gave a spoiler warning if I talked about something in depth. What I'm unsure of is how long something is a spoiler. The TADC fandom seems to have stopped spoiler warning, but that's a special case, and I try to avoid the fandom anyway because how much racism and drama there is. Yeah, exactly. Unless I'm mistaken, it's been about 15 years for my source, and everyone is still very, very tight on spoilers. So, can't really expect time to fix that one. But I really do get it. How long can you wait before something is just able to be talked about? They are so dedicated to not spoiling it. It's crazy. I've never seen a fandom more dedicated. Next, Sia. I tend to just spoiler my own experiences because of how scary it is to be perceived sometimes. And I have to write a lot of context to even get to my source and life and how significant that is to me. And this is because of how few people know about it nowadays and my own shyness. Yeah, yeah, I get it. You would have to like either show off the whole source or just kind of give a lot of context that I found that like giving the context yourself doesn't tend to have the same impact of showing off why it's so important to you as just sharing the thing. But also you have to rely on actually sharing the thing and people giving a shit. You know? Uh back to the uh chat for a second. Uh Genshin Fiction Folk. Oh gods. Yeah, no, I imagine that would be utterly terrible. Because doesn't it update like bi-weekly? So you have to be on a constant train of okay, every 6 weeks. So you're kind of still on a constant train of everything's a spoiler forever, and that's so much new things that you have to basically keep hidden. Same about Warframe that I'm being seeing. Doesn't that also update really often? Yeah, MMORPG fiction folk. I'm so sorry to everyone uh, from any MMORPG or any game that updates like on a frequent basis. Back to panel questions. Next from Virgil. We as a system with a bunch of standard sides, people find it interesting, or sorry, find it confusing how to approach telling people who about who we are because our names are a spoiler. Like we start off being known as the personality traits we represent, and gradually over the series, our names are revealed. Me and Janice feel it's particularly so as our names were built up to a lot. So it feels like a major spoiler to tell people who we are in the show specifically. We don't bother caring in the ultra human community mostly, but if we're thinking of showing someone our source, we're cautious about telling them too much about us. Yeah, yeah. Anytime I'm bringing myself up a lot, but it's how I'm like relating to everyone. Uh, Anytime I try to show someone my source game, I just simply don't say who I am for the entire game, including after the point you meet me. Because I get nervous about it. Because well, fuck. Is saying who I am in the game a spoiler? Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of really is. So it's better to just be quiet about it until after they know everything. But that takes a while, and it sucks. It really does suck. Uh, Next, from Swiftpaw. I have a fictive type kids type that is the spoiler cat from Ghost Trick, and I think the game is so much better experienced by going in blind. But I can't talk about why that source is so important or the themes that resonate for me. This is also the curse of every single person that has played Ghost Trick. This is correct. This is also the curse of every single person that has played Ghost Trick. And yeah, I get it. You cannot talk about the fucking cat uh, unless you've played the entire game. But that's really important. And I would love to talk more about that, but I think you understand, I can't talk about that. But just understand that I get it. I understand your plight. Next, from Foxtail Pip. Obviously, you know us. Yes, I know you. Hi. But the way we found it is to kind of oceify ourselves and apply the themes and shit to go, which I've started doing. Yes, I've done that. You can see my little avatar at the bottom of this current screen. Isn't he cute? So it's technically not a spoiler for Amina if it's even if it's literally almost an exact copy, the only people who will know is those who already know. Yeah, you get it. This is why I personally, a part of why I personally made a little OCified soda, besides the fact that I wanted to draw myself, but I didn't want to draw myself, if that makes any sort of sense. But yeah, that is a way that you can do it, is just make your own little Sona. But I understand that, again, it's kind of a tightrope where if you just go all in on just talking about the Sona, uh, that you kind of just ignore talking about you, the source. But it also kind of depends how important is being a character TM from source is important to you specifically. Need water. Next, from Rouse. Before this con, I was very worried because I didn't know if people would consider my pronouns a spoiler. I gave up on that when I realized I don't care. No one is dragging me back into the closet or they die. Yeah, I never actually considered about a character being trans being a big point of, oh gods, can I talk about this? Or can I even show off the fact that I'm like trans in any way? Will they just think that I was originally trans, just because I was, or because my source character is, if that makes any sense? Uh, like I understand fully that that is a really tough spot to be in, but yeah, I agree. On that topic, I don't think people care, and that's a good thing. Thank you. Uh, seeing what the next big question is. I'm probably not gonna say like comments on someone else's questions. Uh, ba, 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 ba. From a murder of crows. We're not silent about our types, but I'm not, but not nonchalant about it either. It's a third secret option. I forget it's a spoiler at all and reap the consequences from there. We've done that before. One of us was watching his show with some friends and completely forgot that the fact that he exists has a like design and it's like his own thing and not just like a voice is a spoiler and was like said something about it in like the little chat that we had with our friends that we were and the people we were showing it to and someone else was like, wow dude, that's a spoiler, and I was like, oh, I forgot. uh, yeah, it is kind of really annoying. I get it. uh Next from Rin. Maybe this is a hot take, but if learning a spoiler about the thing ruins it entirely for a person, maybe that thing is not actually very good and relies too heavily on shock value. The details should be reinforced and be better when put into context. If it's not, then that's not good. You are right. For a lot of media, I really do agree with you that if it's a spoiler, if you say a thing that's a spoiler, uh, it shouldn't matter if the thing is good. But I know that there's people out there that like care a lot about it, and there's certain genres that not being spoiled on it, at least for your first time, is more important, quote unquote, if that makes sense. Again, I brought up mystery games earlier, or like any sort of mystery show. But any good mystery show or game, in my opinion, should be able to be replayed or rewatched with knowing the uh, twist and seeing it's having it pulled up. Checking back at chat. Uh, Do, 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 do. Also, yeah, I agree with you, Swiftpaw. If someone talks about being trans in that way, I also tend to assume that it's just kind of their own personal canon before thinking, oh, the source series had the character transition. That's awesome. Even though that is still awesome. But yeah, I do tend to like brush it off as just like a personal thing. Like the fact that I'm more like non-binary or just agender in general is not really lined up with my source character, which is just a cis guy, which is scary. That is not a cis guy. uh, from military industry furry dragon spoilers would still rob one of the initial unfamiliar viewing slash reading slash playing experience, which is still a loss, even when it's still as much fun with the spoilers. Yeah, that's why I care so much personally, especially with myself. It's important. I think it's important for to let people like figure out the mysteries on their own. Uh, because it's the point of a mystery game, I think. Is there anything else in chat? Yeah, what do you mean, cis guy? That's scary. That's scary. Oh god, what if the source character was cis? Oh, that's terrifying. So terrifying. Next from Lily Nightcare. Like a huge part of my kin's origin is a spoiler, and there lies so much importance that I have to skirt around one of the most defining aspects of our existence. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Uh, it's you have to like avoid talking about something that is so integral to who you are as a person that it's both like isolating in the sense of you can't really fully talk about yourself to another, but also in the sense that it kind of feels like you're being excluded without actually being properly excluded, you know? From Dreamspace. Had a conversation about this with a friend who's a fictive from a movie we were about to watch. I said, no spoilers, and she answered that as long as I was talking to her, it was her life, not a movie, so therefore, no spoilers anymore. As a fictive too, I think that's a pretty good take. At least when you're talking with people you know slash who care about you more than they care about the media. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I get that. With like specifically my close friends, I know in my friend group, my close friend group, there's one or two that either haven't played or haven't finished the game yet, and I still am a lot more loose with just kind of talking about shit because I know that they care about me and probably don't give a shit if I talk about it. But it's not something that I would do with like strangers or people I don't know as well. But yeah, yeah, I agree with that take. It's a good one. Ah, water. Uh, uh, Shout out to everyone in chat for getting that their source is this. Well, technically, it's not water. It's a bunch of orange juice. Their fucking horse bought like a giant case of orange juice, and we keep getting more orange juice. I don't know why she's like that. Well, technically, I do know why she's like that, but wow, we're back on the topic of discussion again. I can't talk about that because it's my series. Ah. Also, important thing in chat, I see. I forget what's in my source. This is my Miamata. And when I think about the trans allegories of Swiftclaw, I remember that's just my real life experience of Swiftclaw. Not at any point to apply the actual writing. Yep, I also have that happen. I forget that my source character didn't spend multiple years fucking hanging out in an abandoned house. There's a lot more nuance to that specific sentence that I'm not getting into. He doesn't. Yeah, what do you mean Swiftclaw in the Warrior Cat books isn't dragon-hearted? I can believe that. That's true and real to me. Back to panel questions. From Acid Claw. All of my fictotypes are Eldritch horrors, and I have to body / psychological horror censor all of them / warn peeps before showing pictures of them. Yeah, not exactly a spoiler in the sense of like story, but I agree. There's a lot of times where people have to kind of censor their own life, not even in like a media spoiler way, but just in a like it's something you have to spoil way. Does that make any sense? Like the fact that you have to spoil yourself for body and psychological horror all the time. Even though I imagine that's just kind of really annoying because that's you. You have to spoil yourself all of the time. It's just sucks. Uh, Back at chat to me. Yeah, you can DM me after the panel if you have any like specific questions just for me. Uh, Back to panel questions. From Grim, one of my sources, Koru.observer, is one of those obscure things people like to say you should go into completely blind, but I honestly do not even agree with that in the first place, so yeah, I talk about myself pretty openly. If someone I know is actively in the process of playing, I'll be more careful when talking to them specifically. But yeah, there's some things that I know people are like, oh, you have to be like really really careful in the spoilers. But I know some of us just really don't care. For example, another one of our system members just does not give a shit. Actively uses art of himself as a profile picture, will talk about himself if like prompted, and will make jokes that are very much distinctly spoilers all of the time because he does not give a shit. The only time he's ever given a fucking flying fuck in his entire life was in a different server where someone was actively playing through the game. Uh, uh, and he was like, okay, just this once, I will change my profile picture and not talk about it just for you. But yeah, I agree. It just really depends on the person. My haterism is showing. Yeah. Can't spoil your source if you haven't finished it and don't know shit about it because we don't have a PhD in Homestuck. Very peaceful way to exist. Yep. One of us haven't played the sequel game to their own source. And so anything that happens in the sequel game is just a complete who knows. He doesn't know. So whatever he does that might align with that is coincidental. It's just funny. Back to panel questions. Laws. Uh, I resonate with folks in that nobody in alternate space really cares about my source side of things. Where I'm a spoiler to fandom, well, I watched for about 2 weeks before everyone and their mama start putting up Hitler's Promise concert brought on fight on YouTube. Uh, but I am able to talk to fiction folk about it because it's like Elden Ring is not particularly a fiction folky title. I found maybe a few other folks I've met in a single server, and that's like it. Yeah. uh, Again, specifically with those sort of no one really in fiction folk spaces plays or cares, it could come up to like a really weird spot where maybe if you're lucky, you'll find like the 1% of critters or people who want to actually play your game and you spoiled it for their first time and you feel bad about it. But also, most of the time, no one cares, and it feels really bad that no one cares. And it's kind of up to your own discretion if you still want to like keep everything spoiled just in case, just for that 1%, or if you just want to talk. It it really just depends. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Ben from Pandy and Aves. Playing my game for the first time with no spoilers was one of the best game experiences I've ever had. As much as I want to talk about myself, I also want folks to have those same experiences with my game. That's exactly why I don't talk about myself. uh, because I want people to have the same, like, quote unquote magical, like, solving experience that I did when I first found out about the game. So again, it's a type rock. It's a really really weird type rope. You get it. From Dessler. Not sure how to word this, but something that frustrates me a bit is when you've been talking about your identity online for ages, and then the moment that source gets a remake or a new adaptation, everything you say slash said is considered a spoiler and a quote unquote problem. It is strange to suddenly have to stop talking about it when nobody cared before. I experienced this with Wicked. One of my oldest flickers is Elphaba. Yep. I also got the remake treatment. Yeah. It's really weird to suddenly be in the public eye, where people care. Uh, by all technicalities, me, the system member, started existing after the remake was out, but I get it. You know, it really sucks that yeah, like suddenly something that was okay to do is suddenly not just because of something that you couldn't control. Dot says, I'm from a weekly anime that's 145 episodes and counting. Oh, oh no, oh no, that is a similar sort of specific sort of horrible hell that the live service the people are in. I'm so sorry to you and anyone who wants to get into your source or that you want to get in. You want people you want to get into your source. That is sorry. Uh, I'll have to chat for a second. Puppy says, I think you need to accept that you will never matter quite as much to other people as you matter to yourself. My source is one of the most important things in my life because it's me. But objectively, I know I'm not Ben 10. Omniverse is a shit show. Yeah, yeah. Because you are yourself, you're always going to be the person that matters the most to yourself. But it's, but it, people aren't going to care about your show or game or your just source as much as you care. But you're always going to be the one that cares. If that makes any sense. Oh. This is why I got 2 bottles of orange juice. Uh, Ash. Ree, how long before something can be talked about freely without spoiler tags? Hearing you say that your source is 15 years old and people are still upset if you don't talk about spoilers, it's shocking for me to hear. In the Mystic Messenger fandom, people freely talk about Seiren despite the fact that his existence is a spoiler, and Mystic Messenger is 10 years old. Yup, 15 years and counting. I don't think they're ever gonna stop being so extremely tight about spoilers. I've been in other fandoms where after like a year or a couple months, they stop caring as much about being so strict about it. Uh, Example of something that we care about: Inscription. After a couple months, people they still spoiler tag things, but it wasn't as much of a like big problem that people cared about. It's just kind of a thing. But yeah, no, by source. It's a specific kind of issue. Orb says, I think I'm fortunate because most people who want to engage with my source have already done so, or it's been long enough that spoilers are kind of expected. Even people who haven't engaged with the Magnus Archive consciously have quite possibly seen spooky art of me being weird and inhuman, which for me is usually the aspect of my identity that's both spoilery and the most relevant to discuss in Human Spaces. I would still probably spoil talk about the last season as a courtesy, but it's been 6 years, and so I do see it as a courtesy. Yeah. Also, Magnus Archives has been out for 6 years. Oh God, I remember when it was still coming out and I was trying to watch it. I still need to fucking finish it. But yeah, I agree. It is really just a courtesy. And specifically with that, it's just kind of the stuff that exists in the public consciousness that thing is, if it's in my opinion, if it's popular enough that most people who haven't like seen it know about it, I don't care. I should probably finish off the last couple of episodes tonight or something. Military industrial furry dragon. Signalis. Oh, I'm so sorry. Had a life-changing impact on me. I resonate very strongly with Elster and some other characters to the point where I've been questioning if I'm some sort of fiction folk. Do you have any advice? In any case, I would not forgive someone for spoilers about the game. No exceptions. Yeah, I understand. I've heard Signalis is another like really big spoiler gated fandom. It's why I knew absolutely nothing about the game despite being interested in playing it. If I have any advice, I'm not exactly good at like giving advice for how to like figure out if you're fiction folk or not. Mostly because I was just kind of dropped in with the like very strong feeling of, yep, that's me. They just kind of dragged me out from the before the epilogue of the game, and I'm here now, I guess. But mostly, in my opinion, if it feels like it's right for you, just try it on. And if it still feels good, that's great. If it doesn't, then you tried it, and that's what matters to me. That's my main advice for honestly anything about identity. Uh, from Canuck Kfar. Would it be considered fiction, Ken, if your source is from a story that you made? Yes, it is. Uh, and for everyone from an OC story that they're working on actually getting published or out there in the world that they can't like talk about because you want people to see your own media that you're making without like knowing all the twists. I am so sorry. Because I know just from that, you can't actually say anything, and no one will know. My condolences to all of you. Uh, yeah, back to chat for a second. If there's anything I missed. Uh, do, 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 do. Uh, from Sancho. How do people get upset that I spoiled people on Classic Lit? How are you supposed to be upset? The book is 100+ years old. I think I remember you talking about that. That's it's still wild to me. Uh, I think if it gets to the public domain aspect of that, I think you're fine. That's that's kind of really silly. Uh, it's like getting spoiled on the Odyssey, a poem that has been out for fucking centuries. Uh, how dare you spoil Romeo and Juliet? I was gonna read that. Imagining spoiling Lord of the Rings. Yeah, how would you manage to do it like that? But also some like books and such either have like strange public consciousness where people don't know all of it, or it's not like a really well-known classic book, but also it's been 100 years. it's it's just so strange. It's just really strange. Yeah, you can't complain about a foil as a mandatory read at school. Not your fault that he didn't do the homework. Oh, oh God! Imagine if I went on stage and spoiled a classic literature book, The Count of Monte Cristo, right here, right now. I'm not doing that, but not doing that. But it's a book that's been out for ages. Yeah, I love that book. But yeah, back to panel questions. We talk about this in TBD, join the public domain server. By the way, shameless plug. I imagine that is in advertisements if anyone cares to go join that. Shameless plug for laws. But the idea of silencing myself regarding spoilers is kind of not plausible on the account of my identity being erased by the series itself. Like, it goes a little beyond what other people think into my existence is necessary to talk about to keep from literally hashtag dying. Yeah, I assume you mean in sort of a meta way of the series is kind of like putting you under the rug, I would imagine, or possibly just in universe getting erased from existence. I mean, it could really go either way, but yeah, understood. Yeah, I think you should be able to, just for your own sake. Uh, Baggy is once again stated. I think if we ever split a walking spoiler, people are going to just have to deal with it. We're not censoring ourselves for other people's sakes. That is a very valid position to hold. This is why you get multiple bottles of orange juice. Uh, Willow, in regards to talking about spoilers freely after a certain amount of time. Yeah, I in particular haven't really had this experience despite some pretty important things in my story being a major spoiler because Buffy is so old, no one cares about spoilers anymore. Even at the time, the DVD box set of the season I Went Evil had a picture of evil me on it, despite that not happening until the finale. Yeah. Also, absolutely hilarious that they put spoilers for you on the box. That's funny. That's really funny. uh, but yeah, yeah. Again, it's up to discretion. Also, thank you to anyone in the chat saying my orange juice. You guys can all have some orange juice with me. Who would have guessed? Uh, from Susie. I'm just going to use your account name. Hi, my main source is Ruda from Gotcha Kuda. Did I pronounce that correctly? Which is still ongoing. Updates almost every week. A lot of the fandom only watches the anime, which is totally understandable. Thank you. I didn't get it correct. But multiple major plot points, which heavily affects my source negatively, is introduced in the manga, and I keep having to keep it in genuinely sucks. Yeah, if the main like popular form of your media is at a different update schedule than each other, I imagine that would be really, really hard because it's both stuff that has happened and you can just talk about it already and stuff that hasn't yet happened in the media and no one has seen it yet and would be mad if you just talked about it, which uh, sounds kind of really hard to navigate. Um, I hope it update. I hope the sorry. I hope the anime updates quicker for your sake. Also, apple and raspberry juice sounds so yummy. You have no juice and you must sip. From True Mage, which has the exact same problem as Gachakuda, and it's mostly about my own motivations, or at least that's the big spoiler. And it won't be anime adapted for years, years. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, good luck. The panel is still ongoing, by the way. We have 30 more minutes of talking. Uh, from Ranbu. I know this may not be quite relevant, but I think our horror fictives resonate a lot with this sort of conversation. I can't talk about my source for reasons that are a lot more legitimate than spoilers. But it pushed me away from your comment. Hold on, I have to scroll back down. I can't talk about my source for reasons that are a lot more legitimate than spoilers, but that it still means I can't talk about my source. Some of us have way worse situations than myself in system. My thing, I can at least dance around if needed, but some of us, Steve Simon, Amori folk, etc., can't even really exist in a space without the horror of their source becoming uh, relevant. Yeah. Back to the topic of like having to spoil yourself in like a content warning sort of way. Uh, it it sucks a lot. Uh, I don't particularly have any like advice, but I know there's a couple of people in the chat that are probably shaking your hand about it. Also, yeah, I did pronounce it right. I watched a lot of Minecraft. Yeah. Jimmy says you straight up can't talk about anything remotely triggering happy media anymore either, and it sucks. Yeah, yeah. From the creators of My Existence is a spoiler. Now my existence is a trigger warning. I think these both exist in similar discussions, but yeah, they are like distinct experiences, but they are both like tied together, I think, if that makes sense. From Poppy, you can't even talk about it if it doesn't happen in media. Cursed by Dark Nuimita. Yup, there's things that happen to me specifically that never actually properly happened in Source that I can never really talk about because I would need to spoiler all of it for content warning reasons. That sucks. I was thinking 15 years old is very old. I'm surprised spoilers are still an issue. Then I remembered my video game is 16 years old. Welcome to the club. I think it might be older than 15. I would have to check based on like the actual date the original came out, but I know it's been roughly 15. I think it came out in like 2010. I want to say 2010. So yeah, it would be 16. Oh, I'm old. Oh. I'm trying to get through as many questions as possible because I'm still on questions from 11:30. Uh, from social construct, trying to separate spoilers in the context of within and outside kin spaces. I've had a person outside of kin spaces give me a huge spoiler unprompted for a show. I just said I was interested in watching. Was very disappointed with that, especially when I end up killing a character from said show. But if you're wanting to socialize in kin spaces, I do understand slash believe it does come with the territory. Personally, I think online spaces in general need to do better at giving others the option to avoid spoilers. I've gotten spoilers from YouTube thumbnails for shows that are actively airing. Yep, I have as well. I also agree that if you care about someone who happens to be tied to spoilers, then your relationship with them should be more important than spoilers. I agree. In kids' spaces, it probably should be a lot more lenient on the whole spoiler thing. And as I've said earlier, if the person is important to you and you are important to the person, it shouldn't particularly matter as much. Uh, uh, Gray from Gray. For what we do, we sort of Mad Lib in a way. So if you end up dying in your source and you want to talk about that, I feel like the best way to be able to explain it without ruining others' experience is to just use an alias until they play the game / view the media, or describe the experience in your own words rather than saying you died. Like I would say, the incident. Yeah, I use an alias. Fun fact, that was actually picked out by my partner, which is in chat. Uh, uh, because he needed to give a alias to my character to be able to talk about him while he wasn't able to play the game. I think it's very sweet. Hi. But yeah, because it's, I would say less of a spoiler, but more of a just, it doesn't matter as much. I do get to say that I died, but like, I don't get to say why or how. Yeah, you made sure it fit the game. It was very sweet of you. Uh, Anything else? From habit. Yeah, I relate to that really bad. I'm an LHP, ABS, abs. Oh, absolutely. It's literally so fucking bad to like you just, your entire fucking appearance is solely inappropriate. Yep. Uh yeah, that's really, really annoying. Cause that's you. You should be able to show yourself. God, adding on to that. Funny horror creature and bug. Many such cases of censoring my body. Uh, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, condolences. Uh, 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 Anything else? I'm trying to get to the big questions. Uh, From Wraith. So many of us are very, very deeply tied to dark topics and / or want to casually talk about the things that happened to us in source, even if it was extra trauma. Sometimes I want to yap about the things that traumatize me, like it's gossip. Yeah, I also want to do that sometimes. Is that too much to ask? And yeah, it sucks that knowing that's quote unquote too much for a lot of folk, especially either in a spoilers of like specific things that happen in game, or just something that was just a personal thing to you that you can't talk about for content warning reasons. It sucks. It really, really, really does suck. Uh, from Dream Space, I have sort of the opposite experience where I don't like my source, so I don't like sharing my name or much about it because I don't want people to look it up. I'd rather them learn about things about it through me if needed, even if I would rather they don't find out at all. Luckily, my source is quite niche, so it's weird for people to know a thing, but still. Yeah, that's fair. That's really fair. Uh, yeah, I understand. Trying to see what else. Is there anything else that I missed? Uh, Specifically for the panel. I'm checking in chat for a second. Because I was looking at chat for a while. Calling me old just for having my source be from 2010. There's older out there. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes all of it is just quote unquote the incident. My whole entire deal is quote unquote the incident. And you see me literally in the first couple of minutes of the game, and yet, triggers are definitely a more nuanced thing because of the potential genuine distress. From Baggy. Triggers are definitely a more nuanced thing because of the potential genuine distress it could cause another person. I'd say the best thing you can do if you're talking with a friend is communicate if certain things have triggered them and go from there. I also agree. I'm not going to talk about certain like things and topics just out of the blue with a bunch of strangers. Uh, just like how I wouldn't talk about things that happen to the body with a bunch of strangers. Out of the blue without like warning or like or even just still just kind of a thing. Uh, but like I understand it in the sense of like it being yourself that you're spoiling. But also I agree. It's more of a nuanced topic than uh, I can really fully get into. New nickname the incident. uh, uh, My from Poppy, my source is a G-rated kids cartoon. My Niamata include genocide, child labor, war crimes, solid disembowelment, exploitation, a couple gory bits straight out of Event Horizon's deleted scenes. I have seen people being turned inside out by an eldritch being and Ben 10. Yep. Yeah. Still on the topic of like just kind of personal things to you that are in more of the content warning sort of way. Yep. Remember to drink water, everyone. Uh, yeah, sorry if any comment I'm reading out is out of context. I'm trying to get to everyone, uh, and I'm kind of bouncing between things. Yeah, I view it as back to the thing from Baggy again. I view it the same way I would if I were talking about triggering IRL events. Yeah, that's I agree. Uh, Is there anything else I'm missing? Uh, from Shay, I want to say it's also really hard to openly talk about being a demon and my experiences with being a demon without being told I'm disrespectful to Christians or something. Yeah, you're not even demons from the Christian Bible. Yeah. Uh, your source is from 1968. Congratulations. Older than me. But yeah, to rein it back in on the topic of like more source spoilers. Um, I think it's been brought up before, and I know it's been brought up by me before. Specifically with like people whose names are the specific spoiler. Uh, I know just from people have mentioned it in questions before that sometimes it's kind of worrying to even go by it, even if like it itself, uh, without any context, isn't that spoilerful, especially if you don't use your own face as a profile picture, which I don't either, because I feel like that's too much of a spoiler. Uh, Again, viewer discretion for whatever you decide is your own line. Uh, but I worry sometimes that people will just go look up my own name and oh dear, that's the thing I keep trying to avoid showing off to other people. Uh, Someone asked what my source is. You can ask me about that after the panel is over. I'm trying very hard not to say it while live on camera. That's so impressive that you talked for so long and haven't even spoiled something accidentally. I could never. I would be throwing shit out like redacted every 10 minutes. Yeah, I have a lot of experience with talking around this. I'm very powerful. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions that anyone wants to put in panel questions chat? Because I know we are coming up on 15 minutes left until the next panel with uh next one is Indra's. Just checking. Can you write my source in chat with spoilers on? I'm dying of curiosity. Fine, fine, fine. I'll do it. I'm not gonna say exactly who, but I will be. Chat says, "Can you say your source in his handle?" I can't tell you my source. I'm giving in to peer pressure. I'm giving in to peer pressure. I'm not again. I'm not saying what character, but this is the closest you're ever gonna get. Yeah. Uh. Yeah. You're all very nice people. Thank you. I think everyone deserves to be proud of who they are. For just being themselves. Uh, Back from Dream Space, do you also enjoy when you're cryptic about your source and people try to guess and fail amazingly? Yes, it's really funny. It's really, really funny. I was planning on just having everyone guess, but I think that would end up just turning the panel into let's guess my source instead of let's stay on topic. But it's really funny to be really cryptic about it. I do kind of revel in that a bit. Truck. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. I just want to check if there's any last questions before I close out the panel. Uh, just so we can all get a break for the next panel. Also, because my throat is starting to hurt. Yeah, it's fun when they are really sure about it. Yeah, I'm glad everyone has enjoyed the panel. A lot. Uh, thank you for listening to me talk for an hour and a half. If we want to continue the conversation, I am down to make a discussion thread about it. So yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you for being really good audience members for my first panel ever. See you all in chat, and have a very lovely day.